All right. Welcome back to the InnerPower series. We are going to be looking at pillar 4 today, which is InnerFire. So if you've been following along, let's do a quick refresher like we do each time of what we've been doing so far. So the very first pillar is inner clarity, and that's where we started nurturing thought awareness, creating a gap, creating space around our thoughts so that we no longer identify with them. It's the identification with thoughts that leads to problems, and then we're in so close, and then our life becomes a roller coaster of every thought that comes along. It just owns us. So to come out of that, that's what inner clarity, let's highlight the inner clarity, please, is all about. Okay. Create space around your thoughts and relieve the pressure from constantly overthinking. Then in session 2, we looked at inner peace, and that was the equivalent of becoming more aware of our feelings. So as we did our body scan, we started developing this body awareness where we're able to clear stuck feelings and dissolve energetic blockages. And that helps us to come out of reaction and resistance to our feelings, just the way we did it with inner clarity with our thoughts. In pillar 2, we did that with our feelings. And that creates this inner peace when we're no longer constantly reacting to how we're feeling. Again, there's a difference between our thoughts and feelings and our reaction to our thoughts and feelings. Those are two separate things. I remember in my own journey, this was a game changer when I realized where my thoughts and feelings arise, and then where my reaction to my thoughts and feelings sets in. So that's the point where your awareness can keep you from reacting and start really responding and taking clear action. And when we learn to become more aware of our thoughts and feelings, it's a gradual process. It's not an on-off switch. But as we become more self-aware, that leads to a natural joy. That's the pillar 3, which we discussed last time, where our natural frequency is to be high vibrating joy, ease, fun. These are things that is our natural state. And we only weigh ourselves down by attaching ourselves, by giving our attention to our thoughts and our feelings, by being in this reactive state to our thoughts and feelings. That's when we feel small and limited and anxious, like it's us against the world. And so we feel separate because we're constantly judging, labeling, and reacting to the world around us, as well as the thoughts and feelings within us. So once we come out of that, the more aware we become to our thoughts and feelings, the more clear our action becomes, then we naturally become more joyful. And that was pillar 3. So that takes us to today, which is pillar 4, inner fire. Okay, so inner fire is about unlocking your true capabilities so you can slow down yet become more productive than ever. Okay, thank you for that. So what does that really mean? All right. By now, you should have had your daily practice, morning and evening, of at least 15 minutes of our meditation routine, of a few minutes of thought awareness, and then the remainder and body scanning. This routine has created more an arising of your consciousness, a structured awareness of your thoughts and feelings. So as you engage with the world around you, you're no longer just reacting to things, but you're seeing them as they are, just like we were practicing with our thoughts. We see them as they are, just like we were practicing with our feelings. We see them as they are. We don't just blindly react to them any longer. And this reaction is where most of our energy goes. 95% of our energy, if we've lived the way we've been conditioned to live, just constantly reacting, controlling, and steering, has gone to our reaction to our thoughts and feelings. It hasn't gone to just feeling our thoughts and feelings, experiencing them. Experiencing our thoughts and feelings is a state of observation. It's being a witnessing presence. It's quite calm and cool and collected. When somebody stays calm, that's usually a desired quality, and we admire people that can just stay calm under pressure. Well, what is that? It's not reacting to things and getting all wound up about something, not amplifying a situation beyond what it actually is, but rather just to experience it as it is. And that's when we realize, well, most things, most thoughts and feelings that we experience are very manageable. They're nowhere near as dramatic as we make them out to be. And yes, we get attached and even addicted to the drama of things. And when I first start teaching meditation, many students will comment that they feel like this drama is what it means to be human and what it means to be alive. And no, it's not. That drama is just an amplification, a looping around a situation that has already happened, and you're just lingering on it, wanting it to be different, replaying it in your head. And that's what creates so much stress and energy drain. It's not responding to the situation. You're just replaying things that have already happened. And then the same thing applies to things in the future, right? We project and create expectations. And then when the situation arises, we're comparing the situation to our expectations. And so we're not really living it. We're not really in the situation responding to what is. We're responding and reacting to what we think should be, that picture that we created in our head beforehand. And life never matches that picture. So you will always be in a state of reaction and frustration and resistance if you're living by the image of what a situation should be, what you expect it to be, rather than just responding to what it is, the reality in front of you as it is. So that's what our meditation practice has led to. Twice a day, morning and evening is best, minimum 15 minutes. There were periods of my life that I needed extra focus and extra fire, such as when writing my book. It's on my bookshelf here behind me somewhere. During that time, it was almost 2 years, I meditated just the way we are practicing here for between 2 and 5 hours a day. And that's because I needed the utmost clarity and the utmost efficiency in my energy in channeling and receiving all that information and parlaying it and translating it into easy to digest concepts. So that ease and that efficiency is what we're talking about today in our InnerFire pillar, because that's when we realize that when all that energy that we used to get wound up about in a situation falls away, when we're no longer really wasting so much of our juice, and also no longer lingering and living in a past situation, constantly reliving it, but actually responding to what is, we can't afford to just like keep lingering and wasting more energy because we want to stay efficient. Meditation is not about sitting still and doing nothing. It's all about taking clear action. The Buddhists call it right action, motivation that is in line with your inner truth and in line with what the situation demands. Every situation has kind of an optimal way to respond to it. And if you're caught up in reactivity, you just don't see it. You're bringing in all kinds of baggage from your expectations in the past or projections into the future, and you're muddling and distorting the situation from what it actually is. And it's usually distorted into something much more dramatic or something much more complicated than it really is. Sometimes action is to take no action, right? Inaction can be the right course of action as well. So we won't know that unless we're clearly experiencing things as they are, without amplifying, without changing, without needing to control it. And then we can see clearly from a place of resonance, right? Because we're connected to our inner voice. We're connected to our blueprint that's in each and every one of us. We have that unique blueprint that tells us a situation resonates or it doesn't resonate. And it tells us act this way or don't act that way. And so it's all there. It's our inner GPS. It's so simple. It's in our design that we have this built-in guidance system that really lets us go through life in the path of least resistance, with the least drama, with the greatest amount of joy and ease. And we're just creating all this frustration and misery for ourselves by living in our heads, listening to outside voices, all the conditioning that we've been subjected to. These are layers and layers of shoulds and coulds and what ifs and past and future and regrets and projections. That's where the madness comes from. But the simple living by your attunement of what feels right, Joseph Campbell called it follow your bliss. It's so simple. It's so basic. It's almost too simple to be, too simple to be true, but it is. It really is that simple. If you follow your inner voice, then it will tell you what to do, when to do, and how to respond. And sometimes that may mean just waiting and taking in more information, researching more until you have that feel. Some people, sometimes, you just know in a blink what to do. And other times you need to maybe explore a little more, lean into it until you have a good sense of it. I tend to fall in that latter category. I like to try things out, and then I quickly know whether I should be pursuing something or not. So with that said, that is the experience of InnerFire, is to have all that energy that you used to burn on reactivity and waste on trying to control things, have all of that suddenly open up and be available for clear observation, clear decision making, really being in the moment, attuned and focused on everything around you through your senses. This is the key again. It's all the senses that we have, the 5 beautiful senses. There are many more that allow us to connect. It's the connective tissue, the message board between us and our environment is what we taste, see, hear, taste, smell, feel, and touch. And that's right. That's why it's there. So it's everything. The way we're built is built perfectly for us to engage with our environment, to learn our lessons, to see what opportunity is there for us to grow more and become more self-aware and contribute to the environment, contribute to others, and be a participant in life, a co-creator in life. And that's where our happiness and our joy comes from, is being so tuned into right now. There's no fear of the future, of the unknown. The unknown actually becomes a beautiful, miraculous thing. We invite it. We almost have to, once you get this, we almost have to hold ourselves back from like looking forward to the next unknown moment. And, ooh, like what happens next? You just keep a nice, healthy attitude of curiosity to invite new moments in, but you really have to stay present and deal with what's there. So you can't get ahead of yourself either, right? Get ahead of life in a way. That's also not being in alignment with right now. And the past certainly is the past. You'll always derive some wisdom and insight and experience that you can kind of reflect on and pull into a situation, but you're not dominated by it. You're not driven by it. And you're not entangled in this kind of this messiness of past experiences of trauma and pain and things that we're now trying to avoid. And that's when we start steering and controlling our environment. That's what colors a situation and shapes it in a way that's completely different than what's actually happening, right? The objective reality of what's happening. We really always experience the subjective reality of all our fears and coping mechanisms that are rushing in to shape and color what's happening. And the next person has their own stuff, their own baggage that they're bringing in. So, people who are witnessing the exact same situation are having completely different experiences and takeaways. That's because they're living through their baggage, through their stuff, through their expectations, through their control needs, and not actually seeing what's there. If they saw what's there and responded to, instead, not their fears, but their inner blueprint, then you have a much more aligned experience with what's happening and with each other. And that aligned experience is one of sharing, of compassion, of let's see what we can make happen here, like a positive outlook and a creative exploration, because the unknown is essentially just a big sandbox of creativity, just life sending you unknown moments, just inspiration, opportunity, ideas, insights, growth, self-awareness, opportunities to reflect and then act. So all of that is contained in this miracle of the unknown future, which we so dread when we're in our head and when we're living by the conditioned fears that we walk around with. So having this daily practice in place, morning and evening, 15 minutes and minimum, do more if you can. And if at first you can't do the 15 minutes, start with 5 or even with 2. It doesn't matter. Before long, you'll work your way up. But at least once you have it in place, do the 15 to keep the ball rolling. And like I've said before, that shouldn't be where your meditation practice ends. It's the state that you cultivate while you're doing your sit that you then bring into your daily situations as you interact with people before an important phone call or a meeting or just any situation that you engage in, even just going to the corner coffee shop. Be connected to your senses. See what's there. Don't be lost in thought. Being lost in thought is not really living. Being present with what's there, you'll have conversations with people you might not have had a conversation with because you were judging them or because you were lost in thought. And who knows what may come out of that conversation. It's not always just, oh, that might be a lead to a project or work or some connection, but it's just feeling your aliveness and connecting with somebody, bringing them into your experience, realizing, reinforcing this feeling of oneness, of unity, because we are all from the same place and made of the same building blocks. So to experience that in each other, that's really what we're here for, to be mirrors to each other. And if you can just listen to somebody for a few minutes and help them move along their path in life and their station, and they can do the same to you. This is how we keep growing each other and healing each other and expanding each other. And that's where that joy and that fire and that essence of like, wow, I've got so much energy available now that I'm no longer reacting to just the thoughts in my head and the feelings in my body. Suddenly I'm just blossoming because I feel like my energy is endless. And it really is. You'll be hitting completely different limits than ever before. Once I surrendered and let go of my thoughts, this addiction to thinking, so much more energy opened up. The situations that were stressful, work or things that I had to do on a daily basis that seemed to overwhelm and that were just, there's never enough time. Suddenly all of that was very easy, very manageable. I had extra time available. So like, wow, I can do twice as much. I felt like even 3 times as much. Just see what you'll find out for yourself, what your limits are. So this is what happens when you no longer burn energy on being lost in thought, on past and future, on reactivity to your thoughts and feelings, but rather you have all that available to now respond to your environment, to invite in new situations and see what they contain. They always contain some lessons, some opportunity to know yourself better. And this is how you grow yourself in the most efficient manner possible. And this is how you have the greatest impact. This is how you reach your goals the quickest. So many people struggle with meditation because they think like they can't make time for it. It's just another to-do thing. And it's ultimately just eating up more of their energy and their resources. And what they're missing is that once you start the ball rolling on freeing yourself from your addiction to thinking and your reaction to your feelings, that all that energy suddenly becomes available to thinking clearly, to acting clearly, to achieving goals that you've been struggling with and for a long time. And maybe because you weren't in tune with your own inner truth, even to be out of touch with what matters to you. Then you wind up jumping around and reeling in life, doing this thing, that thing, forcing yourself to do this thing or that thing. And some of these things could take, years and decades out of your life where you're going down a particular path that doesn't resonate, right? Because you're not in tune or you're overriding your inner voice with outside voices and trying to rationalize it away and using all these coping mechanisms to get through the day and get through the week and then numb out on the weekends. That's how, a lot of your life force goes out the window. So we want to retain all of that. And all of those situations, of course, are learning experiences that then bring us back to well, where do we find this permanent sense of joy, this permanent source of energy and inspiration that we're always looking for when we don't have to be so depleted all the time? All right, I have my team messaging me that we have some questions. Let's bring up the first one. All right, Stephanie. How to deal with failure? Yes, fear of failure. It's one of the great fears, right? And this is where the mind really goes overboard, because it will project all kinds of outcomes and consequences. That what if, right? And we've all had that. I've experienced that too. And you have to come out of this incessant thinking and being lost in thought and returning to the presence and groundedness in your body, which is what we're doing with our meditation practice, to abate that, to mitigate, to minimize this constant chatter. It's not about figuring it out in your head. It's not about finding solutions to like protect yourself from what could happen and I have to like prepare for that, or put all these other systems in place to avoid failure. But rather is just to stop thinking about it. Stop thinking and giving your attention to thoughts of failure. That's all it is. The mind is creating all this turmoil and chaos and anxiety, and thinking more about the turmoil and the anxiety isn't what's going to solve it. You cannot outthink your own mind and take yourself, solve the source of your misery by using the same tool that created it. It doesn't work. So the other thing about fear of failure is that the mind loves to make things seem final and permanent. And so fear of failure is a big part of it, is this idea that, oh, if this happens, then I'll be forever, tarnished, or forever a failure. And this will impact the rest of my life, and I'll never get out of it. And never rid myself of this idea that, again, an idea that I have failed. And so there too, when we practice our thought awareness and we practice our body scanning, and we just realize that all thoughts come and go, all feelings arise and pass. The essence of life is change. It's impermanent, anicca, as they say, that everything has an arriving and a leaving in the window of your experience. So nothing that happens in life, to you or to others, even to say that happens to you, is kind of an expression of separateness, right? It doesn't happen to you. It's happening because of you. And we're all moving into a place of recognizing that it's happening for you, because life wants you to grow. Life is challenging you constantly to come out of your smallness and your limiting beliefs. And we're fighting so hard to stay limited and small and within our comfort zones. And that's not the purpose of life. So much of coming out of our misery is to recognize we're the student, life is the teacher. It's constantly sending us lessons. We cannot maintain a situation for very long. Change comes happening. It'll knock on your door. The winds will come blowing, and you'll have to be confronted with a new growth spurt again, a new opportunity to become a bigger person. So there is no permanence. There's nothing final. You cannot fail. You only learn a lesson. And then from there, you're in a better position to continue and make changes. And most of the things that we experience are things that don't resonate, that aren't in alignment with us. But we have to experience them as contrast so that they can point us to the things that do. We're like a tool that life is sharpening all day long, all the time, that becomes clear and more one-pointed. And we won't do that unless we get sharpened by all these experiences that don't resonate, all these lessons that we have to learn. Like, okay, this doesn't work. And then you get smarter and wiser and better about it. Or you realize this isn't even a direction that I want to go into. And then you try something else altogether. So learn and expand and grow as fast as you can, as comfortable as you can. It's an incredible adventure. And don't feel like anything is out to get you. Life is here to grow you. Do we have another question? All right. Okay. I lost the drive for success after getting laid off. How do I get it back? Ooh, okay. So there's a couple of things going on in here. One is it's an opportunity always when you get a break like this. It could be, losing work. It could be losing a loved one. It could be getting injured. It could be just some unexpected time off from our usual busy life cycle. And in those pockets, there's an opportunity to self-reflect and really look at what have you been doing? How have you been living? And is it working for you? So that's the first thing, is to come out of this a sense of, again, failure or rejection, or that something didn't work out. And that's just wasting time. Look at it for what it is, which means you now have a chunk of time available to self-reflect and what can you make out of it. And so the very first thing is to assess, right? How have you been living, and is it working for you? And it might have been working for a while, but now the time has come to make some changes. And this would be the opportunity. And if the message is from sitting with yourself that, no, it's not the time to make big changes. It's the time to maybe shift, look into a different company or a different environment where you can apply yourself in a maybe different way, or get a bump in your pay. Most increases in pay come from switching jobs, not by staying at the job for very long. So there's many benefits that you can discover in this, even though you don't feel like you have to make a big life change. But most of the time, this is a welcome opportunity. I always congratulate people when they are laid off to say, wow, this is your chance to reassess. And we rarely get those when we're constantly busy. Rarely get those opportunities. Now, it does sound like from your question, there's a sense of fatigue. So that's something you can reflect on, is like, okay, you're feeling maybe exhausted. Have you been, overworking and overthinking even? Sometimes the same situation, job, or way we apply ourselves is exhausting us, not because the job itself is exhausting, but because we're in a state of reactivity always, burning a lot of energy, lost in thought always, projecting, living in fears of past and future, and all this stuff drains our energy. So the very first thing I always work on with clients is you don't need to change your situation. You don't need to change what you do. You just have to change how you do it. And then you can see. Then you can recognize that, well, okay, now I'm doing it efficiently. I've got the space of this extra energy that I can apply, and does it still resonate, right? And if it doesn't, well, that's more learning and another lesson and insight, and then you can make changes from there. But first, relieve yourself of the pressure and then the self-judgment and the controlling and steering, which burns so much energy, and really find back to your true self, your grounded perspective, seeing things as they are. And then you're in a position to make a much clearer assessment of how you relate to the situation and whether you need to make any changes. So it sounds like you also need to take a closer look at how you're living, your desire for success. And where is that coming from? Are you living for outcomes? That by itself will drain you, because when you're always focused on that goal, that outcome, which you think will make you happy, then you're very likely to sacrifice your happiness now. And that's a high achiever trap that I fell into as well. And you have to learn to come out of and become a top performer. I have a high achiever top performer program where I coach people to come out of that goal orientedness and really live for the fulfillment of the process. All right, I have one more question. Okay, let's bring it on. What practices or activities help you stoke your inner fire and maintain a sense of passion and drive? Okay. So this is one of my favorite topics. Thank you for asking. I call this it's basically a way of balancing your interests. Now that you're no longer burning energy on unnecessary thoughts and feelings, no longer in this reactive state constantly where you're actually removed from what's happening and you just lost in thought, but rather you're starting to live and engage with everything around you and inviting new moments to come in. And you're like, whoo, this is like incredible. The current of life is taking you with it. And so much happens. And this is, our definition early on, this is you slow down because you're no longer lingering on situations You're actually just experiencing every situation as it comes, but there's a speeding up of it because you're no longer lingering. New moments come in constantly, fresh insights and inspiration, and like you, it's almost hard to keep up. Sometimes I feel like we have to bog ourselves down with our thoughts a little bit, and attach ourselves a little bit, because life is so happening and so alive and so abundant that if we were completely open to it all the time, it'd just be like too much. But that's a good problem to have. So get into that state of like, wow, life is too much. And then really what will happen is you build capacity around that to hold all of that inner fire, all of that new energy and inspiration that's coming in. So you become an even bigger person. And it's not a lot, it's beyond the healing, it's beyond letting go of the anxiety. It's now you're really being a collaborator and a facilitator and a co-creator of life. So there's this thing that I call a productive rest. And it's essentially a way to stay productive and efficient all the time, now that you're not wasting your energy on reacting to things any longer, but rather you're experiencing life, so more of your interests, more of your passions are able to really come to the surface. You're able to discover things that you weren't interested in before because you didn't have the time, because you're always lost in thought, always in resistance to your environment. A whole new life opens up when you start to see things as they are. And just roll with it, right? Go with the flow. That's where that term comes from, where you're just moving in space and you're witnessing yourself. It's all happening easy and in a state of grace, and like a ballet or watching an athlete just kind of flow. And so this will happen with your life. And suddenly you have all these interests and passions and different that fuel different parts of you. And so what you can start doing in this productive rest concept is that when you exert enough energy in one area of life, you can shift your attention to another area where you have interest and passion and curiosity. And while you're giving your attention to that other area, the first area is getting to rest. So the parts of you that went into, say, work and sitting at your computer and coding or designing, whatever you might be doing, writing, you need to there comes a point where that needs a rest, and you need to give yourself a break there. You'll feel that. But then suddenly there's plenty of energy available to go for a walk or run or hit the gym or sit in meditation, or go out into nature and connect with the trees. Or if you have a pet, engage there, or children or your partner, engage with that. And then once you have, nurtured yourself in that area, there could be a third or fourth or fifth area where you can now give yourself a little treat, like go see a movie or bake a cake. And I mean, cooking by itself is just one of the most mindful and meditative and healing qualities, and it's endless creativity that's coming into play. You can't cook the same thing twice in the same way because there's so many variables and so many the senses come to life. Oh my gosh, don't get me started here. So there's so many ways you can apply yourself in different areas, that you're giving other areas a rest while you're being productive and expansive in other things. And there might come a day where, you just need to take a day off entirely and just sit by the pool or go read a book. But that's an enlightening activity as well. So you just become very aligned with your needs and no longer trying to justify, I need a break, and kind of living from that mental judgmental space where self-criticism and shoulds and coulds live, but rather you're just really flowing with what your body's telling you and giving one area of life rest. You can shift to something else. And it doesn't mean you have to veg out on the couch. It doesn't mean you have to run and numb out and abuse your body and do things that are meant to just really cope with overworking and overthinking, but rather live in this very highly productive, fluent, just abundant space. And that's when your inner fire, this endless flow of energy that you have within you, really comes to life, and you can apply yourself fully. So with that said, are we good on the questions? One more. Okay, we're good. All right. All right. Cool. So let's head back to our meditation practice. Oh, one more thing. We have a free trial to our Inner Power community, which I implore you. This is part of the larger Inner Power program where you get webinars like this and sessions, live pop-up Q&As. You can share with each other and really, ask questions and then just find the type of environment that we often, as the black sheep in our family, we miss, that I sure wish I had had when I was going through my awakening, is to be surrounded by people who are also at a similar station in life, who don't look at you like you're weird or something's wrong with you, but rather who support you in your journey, in your expansion, in your saying yes to life. So join the community. You get a free trial. You have nothing to lose, and we'll see you there. So with that said, let's get into our position. Again, try to do this for twice a day for 15 minutes at a time. If you can do longer, absolutely do so. It's really what you put in is what you get out. The more you put in, the sooner you come out of your attachment to thoughts, the more you recognize when you're reacting, and you come out of that. The noticing is what breaks the cycle of blind reactivity. The noticing means you're now living from a place of awareness. And from that place of awareness, you recognize you are invincible, you are eternal, nothing can harm you. There is no right or wrong. You don't have to be afraid of beginnings or endings and truth or falsehood. You have your own power, your own truth, and that's the place you're living from. So let's find a comfortable position. Ideally with your spine straight and the bones stacked. And with your eyes and mouth closed, focus your attention on the incoming and outgoing breath at the entrance of your nostrils. If you have trouble locating your breath, you may breathe slightly harder once or twice. And when you feel the touch of your breath, return to natural breath, normal breath. Seeing your breath as it is, not wanting it to be different. Let the detail of your breath pull you in closer, closer into the present moment. If your breath is more in the left nostril, let it be the left nostril. If it's more in the right nostril, let it be the right nostril. Or if it's both nostrils, let it be both. Notice the temperature of the incoming breath. And notice the temperature of the outgoing breath. And notice if there's a difference. Notice the pace of the incoming breath. And notice the pace of the outgoing breath. And notice if there's a difference. And whenever you find that your mind has wandered, simply notice it. And with as little frustration as possible, bring your attention back to the incoming and outgoing breath at the entrance of your nostrils. Natural breath, normal breath. Now shift your attention to the top of your head, your crown chakra, an area about the size of your fist, and notice any sensations that may arise. Maybe a tickling sensation or tingling sensation, a prickly sensation or stinging sensation. Could be a feeling of pressure or of lightness, or of hot or cold. Any sensation is a valid sensation. No need to look for a particular sensation. Simply observe what is. And if you feel no sensation at all, that's all right too. Now gradually shift your attention to your forehead. And come around to the left side of your head. And now the back of your head. And on to the right side of your head. Always noticing any sensations that may arise. I'll continue on into your right eye socket. Over to the bridge of your nose. And on to the left eye socket. And down to your left cheek. And over to your lips. And on to the right cheek. And down to your chin. Always noticing any sensations that may arise. Now continuing on to the front of your throat. And around to the left side of your neck. And the back of your neck. The right side of your neck. Moving down into your right shoulder. And into your right upper arm, first the bicep. And then the tricep. Moving down into the back of your elbow. on the inside of your elbow, the inside of your forearm, come around to the outside of your forearm, I'm going to the back of your hand, around to the palm, now into your fingers, all the way to the tips. Always noticing any sensations that may arise. Now bring your attention to your left shoulder, moving down to your left upper arm, first the bicep, and around to the tricep, down into the back of your elbow, around to the inside of your elbow, onto the inside of your forearm, around to the outside of your forearm, now moving into the back of your hand, and around to the palm, and now into your fingers, all the way to the tips. Always noticing any sensations that may arise. Now bring your attention to your left upper back and slowly, evenly scan left to right. Moving down to your right middle back, slowly, evenly scan right to left. Moving down to your lower left back, slowly, evenly scan left to right. Always noticing any sensations that may arise. Now bring your attention to your left upper chest, area above your heart, and slowly, evenly scan left to right. Moving down to your right rib cage, slowly, evenly scan right to left. Moving down to your lower left stomach, slowly, evenly scan left to right. Always noticing any sensations that may arise. Now move your attention down to your root chakra, the area above your pubic bone. And gradually move over to your left hip. And on to the left butt cheek. And the right butt cheek. And the right hip. And moving down into your right upper leg, first the front. And then the back. Moving down into the back of your knee. And around to the front of the knee. Moving down into your shin. And around to the calf. Now starting with the heel, slowly, evenly scan across the bottom of your foot. Come around to the top of your foot. And into your toes. all the way to the tips. Always noticing any sensations that may arise. Now bring your attention to your left upper leg, first the front, and then the back, moving down into the back of your knee, around to the front of your knee, down into your shin, and around to the calf, and starting with the heel, slowly, evenly scan across the bottom of your foot. Come around to the top of your foot. And into your toes, all the way to the tips. Always noticing any sensations that may arise. Now return your attention to the breath at the entrance of your nostrils. When you feel ready, you may blink open your eyes. Relax your posture. Notice your environment. Notice yourself and your environment. Notice the energy in your body. Notice your aliveness. Well done. It really doesn't take much to return us to our natural state of ease and joy and laughter and curiosity, of appreciation and gratitude, of the miracle that we're all being part of. Everything we need is right there, built right into us. Everything around us is calling us to become who we're meant to be. Our purpose is waiting. Keep up your practice. Apply all that newfound energy, that inner fire, to your daily activities. Maybe add some new ones. Let what feels right and organic guide you. And we'll see you next time.